Welcome to Train Future, where ambition meets expertise. At Train Future, we believe in the transformative power of mentorship and training. In this podcast series, I interview leaders and experts from various fields. Today, my guest is Taira Marshall. Taira has a background in the pharma and genomics industry. She did her master's in molecular genetics and diagnostics at the University of Nottingham. First of all, I must say what you're doing is incredible. I mean, achieving so much at a young age, it's fantastic. So big congrats to you, and thank you so much, Taira, for joining us today.
No, thank you so much for your kind words, and thanks for having me. I think I grew when I was in my early stages, or still am in the early stages of my career, but when I was right at the start, I kind of, listened to as many people as I could. So it's good to be able to give back.
Yeah. So my first question to you today is what motivated you to pursue a master's in molecular genetics and diagnostics? And also why University of Nottingham? How was the experience?
Yeah. So I grew up in India, in Bombay, and I did my bachelor's in life sciences. Tried to keep it broad at that point because I did have some peers who knew what they wanted to do, but I was not one of the lucky few. And my bachelor's degree gave me the opportunity to explore quite a few different options, a bit of zoology and then some molecular genetics as well. And that's where I said, I like genomics, I like immunology. And I picked the course that I picked based on the modules it had because they were just, interesting topics for me. And I guess University of Nottingham, I did want to move away from home, chose a different continent. And the idea was, of course, Nottingham's a very reputable university. The staff, I think I had a meeting with someone earlier. The staff seemed lovely, and I was quite active in badminton back in uni, and the team was really nice as well. So it just seemed like the well-rounded option to go with.
Yeah. No, I mean, University of Nottingham is a very good school, and it sounds like a very interesting field that you're getting into, and I'm looking forward to learning more.
Yeah, definitely.
So, can you briefly talk more about your experience and the work you're doing right now at BioTechX conference? And this is your first job, right?
Yes, it's my first job out of uni. I mean, I've done a couple of part-time jobs before, but it's my first full-time job, yeah. So I think, basically to explain what I do, I didn't know about this role before I applied for it. So it's a very niche role, I guess. It's almost like a project manager for the conference. My side of it is I deal with, the agenda. I draft the agenda. Of course, it's a conference around genomics. So that's where it ties into my background with my education. So, keep on top of the topics that are being discovered recently, all the research that's happening, draft topics based off new developments. And then once we have the agenda, I reach out to speakers, so, seniors in pharma, academics, healthcare professionals, biobanks. So it's quite a varied, I guess, list of speakers that I reach out to and then invite them to come speak based on their expertise and the topic being a good fit. And I guess that's my day to day. And then I think the most exciting bit for me is going on site when the event takes place, managing it, interacting with all my speakers. Of course, I've got a good relation with a lot of these speakers, so just getting to see them, once a year in Basel is quite a treat as well.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, basically brings industry professionals together, right? And this is so good as it leads to an exchange of networking and ideas. And I feel isn't this what the world really needs? I mean, what is your view on this?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the last 2 years have taught me how important growing your network is. Of course, when you say networking, everyone thinks, oh, that's kind of an easy way to get a job, but it's so
Yeah.
much more. Um, Speaking with someone who's in a position that you want to be in the next 20 or 30 years, I don't think you could get better advice than that. You're talking to someone who is in the shoes that you want to be. They do that job on a day-to-day basis. You can, get the insights. You can actually learn so much more about the job before you actually
Definitely. Yeah.
get into it. And I think COVID has taught us how important, face-to-face events are as well. And that's a massive part of my job, making sure everything's face to face. So I do, I'm a very strong advocate of networking and kind of,
Yeah.
meeting people and just, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, that sounds very interesting. I mean, you interact with senior professionals daily, and like, what has your experience been, and like how do you manage these interactions so effectively?
Yeah, I mean, my experience has been great. It's been a lovely learning curve. As I said, it's kind of my way of speaking to people who I want to be in, the
Mhm.
next couple of decades. It's also been, I think it's been a very pleasant surprise because quite frankly, as a young professional, you don't know what to expect from someone who's had, 40 years of experience. They have such busy schedules. And you don't know, whether they'll reply to your emails, especially when you're just cold calling people.
Mhm.
But everyone's so respectful of each other's schedules, which is great. And, the speakers are always so helpful, which is, I think it's just a delight. To manage it effectively, I'd say, just respecting people's time, getting back to them, being organized on my part, not showing up to a meeting, kind of unprepared. And I think just maintaining that relation, even though the event is a yearly event, I maintain a relation with my speakers year round. It just kind of strengthens that bond, strengthens the network, and then, just makes the entire experience for them much more easier and seamless as well.
What were the biggest challenges that you faced, and how did
Mhm.
you overcome them?
Um, there's quite a few, but I think, just to highlight a few, I think the first challenge that I faced very early on in my education was no one in my immediate family or friends pursued similar education to me. So my mum's an artist and my dad's into insurance. So there was an ongoing joke in my family about how my mum took, I think, about 3 months to learn the course I was doing, like just the title itself. So it was navigating, I guess, early stages of education, not knowing exactly whom to speak to. Of course,
Yeah,
I'd speak to my parents, but they wouldn't understand much about what I was saying, the
yeah,
technical know.
I
And I think
understand.
that made me realize I needed exposure to people in my field, which
Yeah.
again pushed me to look for a role that, networked and kind of put me in touch with these people. I think after navigating that, of course, making the transition from being in India my entire life to, lock, stock, and barrel moving to the UK, it can be quite an interesting experience. I mean,
Yeah.
I would recommend it to anyone who's thinking about it, though. It just makes you so much stronger and more independent as a person.
Mhm.
Um, and of course, the daily challenges of just navigating the professional world. You make mistakes. I think a challenge that I personally face is not being too harsh on myself.
Yeah.
It's knowing, everyone's here to learn. You do make mistakes at times, but it's
Yeah.
just ensuring you don't make that mistake again and kind of, make the best out of a situation.
Mhm. What advice would you give someone entering this field, and maybe even your younger self?
Ah, well, I think key is to be confident. I know we hear it all the time, but it's just being comfortable in your own skin, knowing what you bring to the table, and just, holding yourself in a manner that, you might be sitting across the table from, people who've got years and years of experience. But if you know what you're talking about and, you conduct yourself professionally, that's great. I think you do need to put yourself out there, especially when you're building your network at an early stage. You will have to, message people on LinkedIn who you don't know at all and be like, hey, I think the work you're doing is interesting. Would you have, 20 minutes to talk me through it? People are more than happy to share their views and, kind of spread the knowledge. Sometimes you may not get a pleasant response, very
Yeah.
rare though, but
Yeah.
don't let that deter you. Just keep powering through. Most of the people on LinkedIn are more than happy to help. And I think, I think advice to my younger self, which I keep telling myself even now, is
Yeah.
there's so many options and so many careers out there. You don't have to know what you want to do at that very minute. You can explore life, you can explore by talking to people, you can even try jobs out and see what's for you. You don't have to have all the answers.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely, like with networking, I mean, there's no definitive guide, to do it. Like, it's just everyone will respond differently, and the goal is just to like keep trying, But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, that's key. And my last question to you today is, do you think everyone needs mentorship?
Yes. As someone, who's constantly messaging people that I look up to and saying, hey, would you be free for a chat? This is where I am at, and I'd love to hear your views. It's just nice to, listen to someone else's views, someone who's been through it, who probably does know more than you. Even, sometimes I feel like I've been guilty of it, especially in your early teens. You don't really want to listen to anyone but yourself.
Yeah.
But once, you've come to a stage where you realize that, I do need to talk to people and see what they have to say. It's so imperative to just kind of get, their perspective on things. And you're not bound to take their ideas and opinions and actually use them, but I feel like having multiple conversations with different people and taking what you resonate with most out of each conversation is the way to go.
Yeah. Thank you, Tara. I know that a lot of people will learn a lot from today's session, and how networking is probably the most important thing students should start from now, even if you're in like your freshman year.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah.
And thank you to you for having me and, thinking of this platform. I think it's a genius idea. So yeah, well done on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.